I'm going to show you how I got from this orange boy to this luscious haired beast of a man. I'll be demoing the new state machine, animation system, and weapon system. But before then, let's go into a little bit about what this project is. So today we're going to be talking about my new game that I'm working on called Dagger. So, as some of you might know, I've decided to take up the task of creating a game. I'm a web developer by day and a game dev by night apparently now, and so I'm just trying to figure out how to do Unity. So the main thing I've been trying to work on for the past few months is how does Unity work, and what goes into making a fully fleshed out 3D game. Now obviously I'm not very far through this process. There's a lot for me to learn still, and I, to be honest, have jumped way in over my head with this project. Now, this was the goal that I had from the very beginning of starting up this whole project, is that I want to set the bar really high and come into it in incremental steps and just try and develop something over time that will eventually turn into something playable. So I'll give a little bit of a backstory on what the thought is for this game. So Dagger is going to be an MMORPG, which stands for a multiplayer online roleplay game. It is going to be an open world game set in the medieval era, and the main theme of this game is going to be centered around sort of a Breath of the Wild type of format, where you are thrown into a world and you have to slowly discover your objectives and what what your tasks are going to be throughout the whole world. There's not going to be any loading screens. There's going to be action combat, a leveling system, a stats system, an ability system, and all of those kinds of typical RPG elements that you could expect from those kinds of games. So that's kind of what I was coming into this game with the idea of, and it was with me and my wife. I sat down and we started documenting out what we want to do for this game, and she came up with the idea of potentially calling the game even, but it could also just be the name of the land, as the Land of the Seven Stars. And so what we're thinking of doing is that having each region, so there's 7 regions in this island, in this big land mass, and the 7 regions all have their own lord. There's a lord of each region, and your objective is going to be to take over each lord and destroy each lord. I'm not going to go too much into the lore right now, but we are writing up lore and kind of giving backstory to all of this, so it makes sense. You're not just going to be senselessly killing the lords of each region for no reason. There's going to be a reason, and I'll get into that maybe in another video. But yeah, that's kind of the idea of what we have right now, and obviously a lot more needs to be done, but I'm feeling really confident in the direction of this. And the main reason is that I'm not coming into this with the mindset of I need to have this done within a few years even. This is a long-term project. This is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to make games, and I feel like now's the time to do it. I think this would be a really great change of pace, doing these devlogs and just kind of pushing out my progress and seeing how far I develop. Even if no one watches, it'll be awesome just to see the progress. And obviously it'd be great if people watched as well. So without further ado, we're going to get right into what I've done so far and start going over it. So I'm not going to start from the absolute beginning here. I have been learning Unity for a couple of months now, and I still feel like I haven't even scratched the surface really of what there is involved in making a 3D game. I have been able to tackle 3D modeling, or at least attempting 3D modeling, attempting to run through animation rigging and animations. I have started getting to know how to use shaders, but a lot to learn still there. I have basically gone through, a crash course of the basics, the absolute basics. So what I've been working on initially here is just figuring out how I'm going to structure the engine of my game. So when I build any kind of application, I like to kind of sit down and work out the architecture. And obviously when you're still learning a whole framework, this can be very difficult. I plan on doing a follow-up video that breaks down some of the systems that I've been working on during this time, but I want to keep it out of this video for now. The game systems that I have covered so far is the state machine, the animation system, the rigging, the character model, the event system, the item system, and the weapon system, which is an extension of the item system. So enough about the learning aspect of Unity for my first few months. Let's move on to actually showing the progress of what it looks like and where I've come. You might have already seen some of the footage of what it looked like before. We have our orange man, we have a sword, and we have him running around and using abilities. So I had the character animations down, the movement down, the state machine running, and I wanted to move on to actually doing some kind of an actual player model. So this is where I started implementing this. This is the initial design of the character so far. Now I know you might be thinking, this looks crazy. You have a full picker, like a hair picker, a skin tone picker, everything. We got the whole customization. How the heck did you manage to implement that? Well, one of the philosophies with this game right now is that I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I want to make use of all the tools that are available to me. I want to make sure that I can utilize any tool and make it my own. So this is actually an asset store product called, I think it's called Advanced Person Pack 2, and it's sort of a low poly people pack. And I thought it was a fantastic base for me to start developing a character. Now, this might not be the end model that we go with. We may want to actually increase the polys and make it a little bit more detailed. But I thought that this system gave me a really good foundation to start creating our character. And it was fairly simple to get the rigging and the animation working with it. I'm actually using animations from a separate pack. And this really shows the power of the asset store packs and how you can utilize these things to make your own game. Implementing this straight out of the box is not as straightforward as it might seem. So I already have a character that I've been working from, I already have an animation system in place, and now I need to make sure that the animations are compatible with the rigging type of this model. And thankfully it was. It took a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of implementation, and I've been able to basically integrate it with my player model without too much issue. Now there was one issue where I had to turn off the LODing, where the camera zooms out and it starts to lower the polygons. I had to disable that for the way that we're doing our animations right now, but that will be something that I'll utilize for NPCs. It's not really that necessary for player models anyway. The players, there are only going to be a few players in this game, and everything else will be NPCs, and they'll just use the animation system or some other type of system. So we don't need a lot of complexity around that. So that worked out well. So you can see here in the scene, we're actually able to edit our character, we're able to make changes to the prefab of our character, and then we can bake them in, or not bake them, but apply them. There is baking as well, which I'll get into later on, maybe in another video. But you can apply them to the existing prefab that's in your scene, and it'll update with all the characteristics like the hair type and the body structure and things like that. It's really straightforward. It's a great addition to this game. So I baked it in, and now here it is in action. You might have noticed the character switching between weapons, and the weapon system is implemented with the item system and everything. So you can switch weapons, you can have different models attached to different weapons, and the data rigging is all set up for the weapons as well. So we have right now the katana and the greatsword, and I switch between the two. You'll also notice that the animations shift based off of the weapon that you've got. So every model and item or weapon that can be held will have the ability to adjust the creature's animations. So there you have it. There's a full rundown of where the game's currently at and what my status is, and should hopefully give you guys an idea of going forward. My main goal obviously here is to just learn, do something new, and have fun with it. So yeah, thanks so much for coming along on this journey so far. There's been a lot of catch up and obviously a lot more to come. The plans for the next episode is probably going to be centered around the actual environment. So we're going to start building up some kind of a scene that has like a demo environment that we can run around in, give a feel for the game, and start to really get that atmosphere for the game. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of playing around, a lot of experimenting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next one, and until then, take care.